God bless my haters. God bless fake hoes. God bless these haters. Cause God only knows that. All I do is get it. 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 All I do is get it.
Against my culture, no matter how they felt. So before it was about like culture and what would my family think, and this goes against everything that who I am. But today, what's happening is I don't want to use the term lose their mind, but I think like there's so much violence and so many things that's happening. It's so much pressure that it's kind of becoming the norm, right?
Okay.
To say this is it. I want to end my life because a lot of people are looking for the attention, and when they don't get the attention, like, oh, I'm gonna help you. Oh, because a lot of people say, and I was just doing a video about this. I see so many posts where people are screaming like, I'm gonna end my life, and in the comments it say, do it. Who cares?
Oh
Like
my
nobody's right. So I think the fact that when there's a cry for help, every cry for help has to be taken seriously. It can't be like you're being too dramatic. You're just looking for attention. Yes, people are looking. What is it? Money ain't the root of all evil now. Attention is. So if I'm not receiving the right attention, let me just end it all.
It all. And that's so funny that you say, because Emmanuel and I, right before the show, we're having a conversation about how there is now a lack of religious foundation, religious principle that governs the decisions that these kids are making. They're just out here freestyling. And I know for me, if I just want to keep it a buck, as the kids would say, I probably would have committed a suicide a long time ago had my mom not taught me or told me that in our Christian belief that if you committed suicide, that was the one thing God would not forgive you for. She's like, you can murder 10,000 people, you can have 8 million abortions, you can do whatever. But that one thing is like a first-class ticket to hell. So that's what scared me.
Yeah, you could kill other people, but you can't kill yourself.
You cannot take your own life. That's what she told me, and it probably saved my life.
No. You know? So I had my own suicidal experience, and this was like over 10 years ago now, but it was at the ending of a relationship.
Oh, God.
And when I look back on it now, I'm like, who was she? Because I'm not her anymore. And at the time, all I heard was end it. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, Elise, you went to Catholic school. Wait, you believe in God. Wait, where's God? God, where are you? And it automatically, my grandmother, she passed away now, my father's mother, she called me and she heard something in my voice. And she sent every male in the house. Like, I just heard her calling all my cousins and uncles' names. Go over there and get her. And we know what that was, that spirit, that power that I guess I must have just gave up. And it was like, well, wait, put a phone call in. Go get her. So it's definitely real. I would never pretend like I don't know what it feels like to want to do that. You understand? So it's not like, oh, I don't know what that means. Because a lot of people will shy away from that thinking like, oh, there's a stigma. It must mean like you're crazy or something wrong with you. But I feel like you have to almost want to end your life or give it away for you to really live it. Because at that moment, it was just like, all right, now I feel like I have a purpose. Because I was told, if you get up and you walk away from this bed where you're feeling like you want to end it, now your life is for me. You have to go back and you have to help other people. That's why I do the work that I do.
That's why you do the work.
Elise, I'm wondering, like, what is it about somebody's experience that would drive them to the point of wanting to commit suicide?
So I'm going to speak for myself, right? And then I'm going to try to relate it into what we see in this generation. My identity was tied to this relationship. I was his woman. I was my children's mother. I lived a very comfortable lifestyle, and I was in love, or I thought that was love. Now I'm like, oh, that was toxic. Right? But when you're in it, you don't see, what is it, the forest or the trees or the vice versa. Point is, I felt like that was my life, and because that was ending, my life was ending, not knowing that was a part of my life.
Who am I now?
Right, who am I now? So with this new generation where everything is how you look, you have to be perfect, you can't be caught slipping, somebody got teased, shade, I'm going to embarrass you. The whole purpose of the three of us coming together is to humiliate each other and make us feel bad. So if you know, when you're embarrassed or you're ashamed, that's a terrible feeling. I've been humiliated. I've been embarrassed. But I see it now as a humbling experience. But when we're talking about middle schoolers to high schoolers, we know that that's a sensitive age of development. They're still trying to figure out who they are, adults, children. So put on the humiliation, the pressure. You got to fit in. You got to look good. You got to have the right body. You got to be in this type of relationship. So it's so much more pressure, and the fact that it's publicized can be one of the reasons why, like, a lot of young adults today are choosing to commit suicide.
You have that digital footprint that never goes away. It's forever in cyberspace once it's on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and people will bully you with that. So I didn't have any of that when I was growing up.
No,
you didn't. It was, I remember cases of like public humiliation, but there was no social media back then. It was just like word of mouth. Right, there was a rumor going around that so-and-so, there's so-and-so with so-and-so.
See it in the bathroom, written in marker or something.
That there's no footprint of that.
Right.
It's not like the modern day with social media, and I see it every day. Shirley, I'm sure you see it too.
Every day. I've collected suicide notes before. And they're like, oh, we were just playing. I like doing something, all my friends are dead or something.
right.
it's in the music. It just becomes a part of their culture, and they think
And
it's
they
funny.
joke around with it.
It's not funny.
So as an educator, you never know when to like take it seriously. Do you take all of those jokes seriously?
We have to.
Right.
By law, we got to send them to the counselor and put a statement in, because we don't know if you're joking or not. But with us dealing with children, that's our main focus, because I just feel like if we can curtail that somehow and get them to have that positivity and self-love and, of course, some type of religious principle, I don't want to call it principality, but believe something and believe that there's something other than this. If we can do that, I do feel that that would help a lot. But the concern right now is black males. They have, according to what I've read, they have double the rates of black females in terms of actual suicide successes. Why do you think that is? I think it's because of the economics and this whole, the women have more masculine energy to me than the males do. And I think they don't know where they fit in. They don't know where they belong.
The black males.
The black males, I believe that.
So I feel like
Interesting.
I feel like black people, right, and then I'll deviate to black males, have always been in danger, have always been like the target, whether the statistics showed it or not. Like, we lived this, we experienced this. So now what's happening is you got to be a gangster. You got to rep for your set. What block you on? Where you from? If you don't have this street credibility, nobody's paying you attention. It's almost as if there's no other way but to be this way. So if you're an intellectual black male, you're a nerd. They call you P-U-S-S-Y.
Or they'll call you gay, and you're not gay. Because I like to read books, I got to be gay. Like, what?
I forgot gay was a terminology that the terms changed so much. It was like, oh, you gay, bro, which means like you silly. And I'm like, wait, gay? Wait, no, mommy, we mean it like this. And I'm like, wait, it's just too much. But, I got to keep up too. But the thing is, what I'm saying is that there's added extra pressure to be something that you are truly not.
Not that.
Right? So with that, this is the reason. And with the girls being more aggressive, I have to say this, black women, we've had to protect ourselves. So you can't not protect me and then say I'm aggressive. I'm protecting myself.
I'm in survival mode.
Yeah, like if anybody knows me, I'm extremely nice, probably like 93% of the time.
92.6.
Right. That.
No, I'm just
But if I'm provoked, I'm going to protect myself.
I have to.
Right? So it's not like, oh, you're being aggressive. There's a difference. Let's talk about that. Like, there's a reason why. We can't just say this population is like this or that is that. Things have been designed to be this way.
Wow.
I also read, and this was, we have a question. As a man, we are losing a way, and plus when we try to be a father, the court doesn't let us. Oh yeah, I just had this conversation with my boyfriend, the whole child support situation and taking the rights from the dad, and that's a lot too. But I read something that was very, very, very interesting, where it says that black people in general are used to being in survival mode. And so now that they can no longer use the white man or the man as an excuse for their failures, right, and we are thriving, we are doing well, they're like, okay, now what do I hide behind? Because I can't use the things that we used 50 years ago as the reason why I'm a failure or why I don't fit in. They don't know how to be comfortable in their success. I'm like, that's something to think about.
So maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I am too. So
Right? So
I'm saying they like I'm not one of them.
No. But you know what? That's like, okay, right?
Interesting.
Like, comma, semicolon. This is years of generational trauma. Years. So you can't just expect us in one generation to we shall overcome. This is truly going to take time. Like,
Yeah.
I still have habits and behaviors from my great-great-grandparents, right? Why? Because I was told, oh, this is what happened. Your grandfather left. They were protecting themselves, so they came to the south. They came to the north, and he had like 10 different children. So certain things that my great-grandmother did, I was still doing because these are the things that I was taught. So at the same time, like, okay, we can't blame anybody physically. Like, you're not but you've created laws and economic systems to oppress me.
us, yeah.
So it
absolutely.
might not be physical, where it's like it's something that you could see, but the whole
Psychological.
right, it's a psycho-social economic condition. And again, this is the reason why I do this work, because I felt like I was uniquely positioned where I grew up in an urban neighborhood, but my family was kind of well off, so it was like kind of the best of both worlds. I was able to go to school. I was able to get my education. Thank you, CUNY, right? CUNY, City University Education, right? Thank you. But the point is that I had to do this because I was given this platform. So when I started to see, like, wait, everybody wasn't raised like me. I went to Catholic school. I was in the hood, but I was kind of secluded. So to come out and see, wait, segregation still exists. They just call it zoning. Or if you don't live in a zone, you can't go to the school. Your child can't get. And it's like, oh, it's the system.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want anybody to believe that, and I talk about this a lot, in terms of racism and like racism wasn't built on, oh, they're black, they're less than. It was, oh, they are human resources. We were the original human resources. So it's all about money. So when they try to blind it to say, oh, you can't blame the white man, the system, the court system, why they can't get their children to keep
Keep black
families apart,
apart,
division.
absolutely.
I gotta keep you in strife, because if I keep you in strife, you won't build.
You won't build, and that's what's happening right now. I can't speak for the Hispanic community or Latino, Latinx
Similar.
community, but the men and women are literally at war. There was a post that was on, I think it started on TikTok, and it just created this buzz, and the person was like, a black guy, he was like, oh, if you want to be happy, marry a Hispanic woman. Did you hear that?
No, but I'm listening.
And it got all the black girls in a tizzy, because they're like, this is what we talking about, y'all don't like us, y'all hate us, and I'm like, don't even give that any air, like, don't even let it live. Just ignore it. That's what they want you to do.
So I feel like who's for you is gonna be for you.
Yeah.
Black, white, Latino,
Asian.
Arab, Asian.
Love is where you find it.
Yeah, like, so if you don't love me, somebody does love me, and it does, like, so okay, let's go back to man and woman, right? So from the beginning, we've been trying to be divided. You're on this side, I'm on this side, and I gotta figure, okay, who I'm gonna go with. We were created to be one, and we have to understand that, like, this whole generation now with the whole there's no love, there's just like hookups, none of that is really real. It's temporary satisfaction and long-term hurting.
Mm-hmm.
You like, so I say that to say, don't believe in this myth. And when
Yeah.
you meet people that's like, oh, this generation that's somebody you don't really want to too much entertain, because there is love out here. There are men and women who are going to love you.
Who will love you.
Regardless of what you look like, your size, your body, everything. So I just had to say that.
I like just hearing the conversation that we've had so far makes me think about people not being comfortable in their identity, or not even being self-aware.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the failure in society and individuals and groups of people has to do with this sense of identity that we've never been able to build as a people, right? So I wonder where we can start and whether or not that will help alleviate this problem of suicide as well.
Absolutely, especially with the young ladies, because I still, even though the male statistics are on the rise, I still feel like the young ladies have it harder, especially in places like New York, where you have so many different cultures here, a lot of Hispanic culture. And so if you are a black girl, dark skin, 4C hair, okay, like myself, you are told from the time you are in pre-K that you are not pretty, you are not wanted, you're not loved, you're not good enough. And I can't imagine growing up here. So I tip my hat to all of y'all that have been born and raised in New York that are black girls.
So, okay, so I got to get psychological. So there's this theory that I learned. I'm probably, let me try to pronounce his name, Vygotsky.
We know him.
Okay, good.
All
good,
the
good,
teachers
good.
have to learn about
That's the
it.
zone of proximal
Zone of proximal development, boo.
So look, look.
Come through teacher education.
Excuse, right? So I just learned about him this past
Yeah.
year. So let me
Yeah.
just say, I'm a newbie. But what I learned is that depending on the voices that children hear around them growing up becomes
Absolutely.
their subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when I grew up, I was the only child in my household, and I heard "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." I was I was proud to be a black woman. I like always like, you know, me and my daughter were watching a TikTok today, and it was this mother saying how her daughter came to her crying saying I wanted to be white, and she wanted to like spaz out on her daughter. But then she listened to her, and she was like, oh, these are the reasons why. Okay, because she suffered from the same thing. I thank God that that was not one of my sufferings, because my family instilled self-confidence. You are, you will be, you shall be. Now, don't get it twisted. I'll be in the house sometimes and I'll tell my children some stuff like, oh, you know, you shouldn't do this. You're going to be, but it's a joke. But they know at the root of it, like, we recite that Joel Osteen prayer almost every other, like, but why do I do that? When you go out into the world, you're going to be met with everything you're not enough of. So when you're in this house, this is how I am in my household now. This is your sanctuary.
That's right.
This is the place where you come to be replenished. I'm going to build you up, because the world is a cold place. So I think if we're going to start, and it's sad to say it, because a lot of the parents don't have self-esteem. I posted a video on TikTok, and my son told me why he thought I should take it down, because it was inappropriate. He said that didn't look like it was, you know, whatever. But anyway, I took it down. I took it down immediately, because he said, "Mommy, that doesn't look like you are inspiring people," and that's what you do, right? Like he came at me. But that's what I'm saying. Like, this is what it used to be. Somebody would say like, "Oh, that's disrespectful." No, I'm his mother, so he don't want anybody saying something like, "Oh, I seen your mother." He wants to keep the respect.
Yeah.
So he came to me. He said, "Could you please take the video down?" And I did. Here's what I'm saying. It has to start in the home. And this is why, like, when you said to me, I'm working with mothers now.
Yeah.
That incident last week, like, broke me. Like, all day, I was like, and it didn't happen to me, but it happened to me. The Coney Island incident. And I had already been developing a program for moms for months. I done been depressed. So many things didn't happen. And I kept saying, I'm going to do it. You know, you got that one project that you never finish. It's always on your to-do list.
That was the needed.
When I saw that on Monday, I just went full black. Like, ever since Monday, I've been on go, because my heart was broken. Like, she told people in her family, like, look, I'm overwhelmed. Like, and I think in our culture, I don't know if they do this in your culture, you tell me, it's this, oh, you keep your legs closed or something, and that means don't have no more children. But what happened to the community? What happened to when
The
everybody
village.
used to-
The village. So for those that are not in the New York area,
the village burned.
The village burned, boo. I can't. She's referring to the mother that killed her. Was it 3 children?
Yes, ma'am.
Coney Island drowned her 3 children. Out of, like she said, overwhelmed. She was depressed. Which I don't think there's any mother that can't say that at some point they've experienced some type of depression, whether it was postpartum or partum, whatever. The sadness in that story is that it could have been prevented.
Yes.
Had people listened, had people knew the signs, had people taken the signs and symptoms seriously, which is what we are going to leave you with before we get out of here this evening, is how do we recognize these signs? And one, how do we prevent it in the first place, but how do we recognize it once it's too late and someone has reached that point where they are having these suicidal iterations? So for you, as a mom, an excellent mom, might I add, how do you deal with that? Like, what are some of your coping mechanisms that you use when you feel yourself sinking into that abyss?
So let's talk about how I was feeling like this every day this year when the year started.
Wow.
So understand that I'm also a doctorate student. So I was in a doctorate program, on an externship, running a business with 2 children.
Overwhelmed.
So at the end of last year, let's talk about it. My daughter was getting bullied in school, and then when she fought back, she looked like she was the one aggressor, because she just let it all out,
Sick of it,
right?
yeah.
So it was just like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, we were the victims, but it went to right. Every day, every time she called me on my, like, I was like on go, like all the time, right? So that's like one thing. By, I want to say March, I had just fallen into this place where I didn't want to get out the bed. Uber Eats, DoorDash, the door was closed. I didn't even want to deal with them. And I'm like, I got to get out of this funk. But I had to stay in the funk to say I had to get out of it. I couldn't rush myself out of it and try to pretend like I wasn't okay, because I wasn't. And I had stopped communicating with people purposely because I felt like when I was saying, surely this is happening to me, people were like, well, you should have did this. And I was like, okay, wait, so now I feel worse. So I intentionally shut down, and I was like, God, I need you to show me. And I'm not even going to lie, things just got worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, okay, you said you love me. You said, okay. Like, it was getting too much. I started a morning routine. Started getting up. I made myself a facial. I went to Marshall's, got the clay and all of that. Made myself a facial. I started going on walks, getting out the house before 12 o'clock. I send you the videos. I have to, because a lot of times with children, you want to discipline them. And from the way I was raised, I got my behind whooped. So originally, I used to beat my children until I realized, okay, you can't do that anymore. So now it's like, let me go outside. Wait, what did you shoot? Okay, wait, let me breathe. So I have to remove myself from the situation. Now, studies are also showing that there's a higher rate, especially after COVID, mothers who have children under 1 year old, they're suffering from postpartum depression. And the woman at Coney Island, her youngest child, I believe, was before 3 or 4 months. Right? So we have to understand that this is something real. And I remember watching Oprah in 2012, and she interviewed a mother who killed her children. And Oprah was just like so hard on her. And I was like, wait, I was in that same situation like a year ago. So I'm glued to the television. She said, Oprah, I was hard on myself, but it didn't work. I meant to kill myself too. So now she's sitting in jail, and it's like, oh my God, this mom. So we see these Susan Smiths and all of these incidences, and they're escalating in every culture after COVID. So this is something that definitely, I don't want to see another mother post again. It was a mother, I remember this is when I was studying for my doctorate, and I was like, oh my gosh, it broke my heart. Like, am I studying or should I be doing something? Should I be sitting behind the books?
What should I be doing?
Right, and I'm like, help me. And now I feel like here I am. Like, I want to be able to be that resource that you can come to, especially, I know what the feeling is like. You love your children, but it's overwhelming.
And there's an added layer of pressure because I can't let my children see that I'm losing it, that I am unable to be that support and that backbone for them. So I guess I can kind of understand, like, if I'm going to take my life, you know what, I have to take y'all's too, because I don't want to leave you guys here with that burden, thinking that it was your fault, and then I don't want you to be motherless. I don't want you to have the trauma. So we all got to go.
Right.
So it's probably, in that person's mind, they're thinking that it's an act of love. I'm not leaving you here without me.
I'm protecting you. Yeah.
So I can understand. I mean, not that I'm condoning.
No, but the thing is too, your children, you can't hide from them. So like my children will say, Mommy, you are a better person, not just a mother, from who you were before. Because before I was so depressed. I had anxiety. It was always worry, doubt, fear, worry, doubt, fear, on repeat. Until I had to say, okay, what's going to change? I had to get up in the morning and decide. Please listen to me. I had to decide what I was going to think. If a thought came to my mind and it made my body feel like I couldn't think the thought, stop it. Right in the middle of it. Think something else. Think about something else. And I've been doing this for the past 6 years. Is that easy? No, because people are like, oh my gosh, what do you mean? You were just doing that. I don't want to do it anymore. Stop. It doesn't feel good. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I don't want to be guilty tomorrow. Let me stop now.
What's crazy is that I keep thinking about like how emotionally intelligent and mature a lot of people are and are able to find coping strategies for the way that they think. But I'm also thinking about the majority of society, the majority of people in black and brown cultures who can't, who don't know what to do, who don't have the language, who sometimes don't even know that they are depressed or anxious. They don't know that they're
depressed.
Because it's a normal feeling.
It's normal.
Or have PTSD.
They have PTSD.
And don't know what it is, Ken.
So because they don't know, it becomes the norm. And so what they do is they try to self-medicate. And this has become the buzz too, is people that are smoking weed, drinking alcohol, doing whatever, fentanyl, whatever it is they can get their hands on to alleviate some of that. But that actually adds to the depression. And so they're specifically for the youth. because your brains are not even fully developed yet. And you're still waking up from that high with these same problems, but now you have depression on top of it. That's the icing on the cake. So they're like, you know what, let me just go ahead and just end this. It causes them to want to isolate, causing feelings of hopelessness. Can you imagine being 13 and you're just like, this is it, there's nothing else? And you want to die because you've seen nothing else. And it doesn't appear that it's going to get any
it's
better.
sad. Like I am someone that suffers from depression,
Yeah, you
and
noticed that.
I've suffered from depression. I want to say for more than half of my life,
Yeah.
and I didn't know it was depression until the pandemic when I saw therapy. And I would tell my therapist that I would feel this way, that I would stay in bed, that when I was in college I wouldn't get out of bed,
Talk about it.
right? I would stay in bed for days.
Therapy.
Not go to classes, wake up at like 7 p.m., shower, eat, go back to bed. And I didn't know what it was. I just thought there was something wrong with me, but I couldn't put words to it,
You
right?
needed a therapist.
So let's talk about how it was until COVID. Like, I know COVID had so many negative, bad things. People lost their lives, like, right? COVID exposed
Yes.
so much. And this is what I'm saying. The work that I was doing this prior to COVID, and I was called a conspiracy theorist, all of these negative things. But everything that I was talking about before now is like, it's normal. Oh, now we can talk about being depressed. We can talk about having anxiety. Like you said, you couldn't put a word on it because it wasn't socially accepted. So now that it is, I forgot who told me recently, like that fake stuff is over. Everything we was trying to pretend is not, is this, it's in your
Brought to
face.
light, yeah.
Yeah, you can't ignore it now. So now this, again, I'm encouraging, get help. And the problem is with the help is that it's connected to some type of government resource. So my goal, like through all of this, is to eventually create this wellness center where it's not just mental, it's physical, because everything is all connected. But at this time, what I'm doing is I'm specifically working with moms because I was told, oh, you need a niche, you need a pot. And I was like, okay, I can't save the world. No, you just need a little corner pocket of the
That's
world.
But that's a good population to target, right?
It's me.
'Cause it all starts there.
Right.
If the mother is in a good place, mentally, emotionally,
Yeah,
she will be better for her children.
that's right.
She will be able to tackle all those, problems, those mental blogs that a lot of kids come to school with and are unable to learn.
So let's talk about how mothers have either been abused in their childhood, which now is carried into their personality. So
Yeah.
this is who they are, even though it's not who they were supposed to be. Let's talk about mothers who either recently or in the past experienced some type of trauma that they couldn't get help for. So now being anxious and sad and depressed and withdrawn is a part of your personality because you don't know how to interact. You're afraid. It's this fear. And like I said, I experienced this. So what happens to your children? The world has a question mark. Well, mommy is sad. Or if daddy is even in the picture. So there's no support. There's no safety net. Like that's one of the things about welfare that I did learn the terminology. Welfare was supposed to be a safety net.
Yeah.
A lot
Not
of
a
people,
crutch.
right. Safety net. When you fall, oops, fix your knees and get back
Yeah.
up. This is what's happening in the home. A lot of children don't have safety nets. The parents need help again, which is why I'm working with moms. So what I was doing, like I said, it was my own idea, and I started working with a team because I was trying to do everything by myself. Why I burned out, and they were like, Elise, think of something that you do if you could just name it a name. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's your gift? I'm like, I don't know. I talk to people. You reawaken people's lights.
Interesting. They can see so much of themselves in you.
Right.
And that's so important, especially for people of color. You have to see somebody that mirrors or looks like what you have been through or what you aspire to be.
Let me say something. When I walk into places and I'm introducing, they're like, oh, she's a professor. And a lot of people are like, when they're like, oh, she was homeless. It's like, wait, let me
what?
hear more. So I believe I was uniquely
Absolutely.
positioned to be who I am and
Absolutely.
do what I do. And like I said, going back to Monday, I just think about the fact that families, I'm urging you, if somebody says I need a break, I don't care if she want to go to the club, get a drink, whatever. Give the mother a break.
Give her a break.
Give her an hour, give her a day, give her something.
Yeah.
I just recently did that for my little cousin, and she was like, oh my gosh, I felt so much better. I haven't had a baby in my house in years, but it brought me so much joy. It was like, oh, like I could really do this. But she felt good. You understand? So if I say anything today is please give a mother a break.
That's a t-shirt.
We were saying how a lot of men are like, I'm not attracted to that woman for X, Y, and Z number of reasons, right? But think about all of the baggage and all of the weight that she's had to carry on her shoulders, all the trauma that she's experienced. Of course, she's not going to be right for you because she doesn't have things worked out yet. So the men who also have stuff to deal with, they're just not a mix at that point, even though they may have been under other circumstances.
That's right. That's right. I just on the way here, like even this t-shirt that I'm wearing, I just grabbed it. It was clean, right? I love Nirvana. And halfway here, I'm like, wait a damn minute. Kurt Cobain committed suicide. And I used to love him. And I'm like, I forgot all about it.
And what does the name Nirvana mean?
Nirvana is the complete opposite.
Peace.
Hello, that's peace, the highest
Serenity.
peace,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He committed suicide, man. He shot himself.
So ironic.
And drugs, heavy drug user, but he wasn't using drugs just because he wanted to be this horrible person. He was using drugs to cover up, he had a stomach condition, and he said it was so painful that on many occasions he wanted to end his life, and his friends talked him out of it.
He wrote 3 songs while he was going to kill himself.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
It was all, the
Yeah, I
evidence
didn't
was
even know
there.
that. Yeah, I'm learning.
If I'm not, I think he was my same birthday. It was either March 5th or March 4th. Pisces, listen, we got a lot, y'all, going on. And we either go to drugs, or go to ministry, or we commit suicide. Do the research. Andy Gibb, March 5th. Tina Marie, March 5th. Joel Osteen, March 5th. So you can either take that struggle and do something with it, which is what I'm trying to do, or they just disappear and they isolate and it doesn't usually end well. But just listening, like I said, on the way here, half the people that I was listening to committed suicide. Phyllis Hyman, suicide. Like, come on.
And unconsciously, this is what you were listening to on our way to talk about suicide.
That's God telling me, like, ma'am, you have a responsibility. And I'm doing, like you said, my little niche.
Yeah.
These girls that I work with, some of the conversations that I have with them, you wouldn't believe it. These are 12, 13, 14-year-olds. And some of the things that they have gone through. I'm 46, and I haven't been through a fraction of what they've gone and what they're still going through. So I commend you, again, for being a mom. Symptoms. Can we please give people some of the signs and symptoms of someone that may be having suicidal iterations? Please. And please take notes, those of you that are watching.
So one thing that I definitely noticed, so this could go either way, but you got to be careful when people like to isolate themselves too much. See, the difference with my isolation is I still have my children in the house. I have to interact with them. But when you're isolating from everyone, right? Because when you're alone, it's either going to go one or two ways. Either you're going to say, okay, you're going to get better, you're going to get through this, or you're going to hear, you have to leave. This shouldn't be you,
Yeah.
right?
Isolation.
Right, so isolation. Another thing, too, either over or under eating or sleeping, either or. Definitely learned that. I remember one of my professors said, you have to always ask, how is the person sleeping? Sorry.
Girl.
Right? How is the
glad
person
to hear
sleeping?
I feel seen.
I'm heard, right?
I feel attacked. Because
Yeah,
it can go
right.
either way with me. Okay, which is why I stay in the gym. Because it can go either way.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so that eating, sleeping, also like I want to say just like not really coherent in a way, like not responding in a cognitive thought. Like it's like, okay, wait, something like you're having a conversation with somebody and it's like,
Just
okay,
talk about
what's wait, hold on, you're straying, you're going away, and so I remember when I used to teach at the university, which is one of the reasons I stopped. I would have students tell me they were suicidal, they had all the stuff, and I would send them to the counseling center. And the counseling center would send them off for 72 hours. A lot of times what I'm realizing is people just need someone to listen. Wait, what you mean? Wait, what day was it? What color you had on? Just let the person talk and finish. No, if you talking about Sarah, or that Sarah, wait, let the person, let them get it off. Because a lot of times what they're running from or what there is something that's temporary. But even though it's temporary, like I said, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, it's shameful. I don't want to show my face to the world, so let me just end it.
It has power.
Absolutely.
That feeling has power.
Absolutely. If you care about it. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. Whether it's Islam, Christianity, whether you're a 5%er, Buddhist, I don't care what you are, you have to find something that you believe in, that you can subscribe to help you cope when you get in those, you know what I'm saying? Because I think just about every religion teaches you that you shouldn't be concerned about what man thinks about you. You should be only concerned about pleasing God. So I don't care if you think I'm stupid or if you bully. I'm concerned about pleasing God so I can get to heaven.
So here's the thing, right? Let's talk about God. Let's talk about God in September 2022. I saw a headline a couple of years ago that said, "Where is God?" or "Why is God allowing this to happen?" A lot of people today feel like God is a myth or something that's not serious because it's like, oh, I asked for that and I didn't get it at that time, so this must not be true. This is not working, right? I believe that we have to have a relationship
with him, yeah.
and it's not about religion. Like, I've studied multiple religions. I've even teethed on others, but Christianity is for me. Why? And my father taught me this. He said, Elise, you have to be an intellect to be a Christian because you have to explain the empty tomb, right? So what I'm saying is that there's the relationship of I come closer to you and you come closer to me. So we have to understand God is only as far as we allow him to be. When we invite and say, God, I humbly serve you. I don't know what you're doing. This is every day probably I pray this because I'm like, wait, I just effed that up. I'm like, all right, God, look, help me. And then no lie, situations will come. And I heard somebody say, you think you have superpowers or you're lofty? No, that's the power that Jesus died to give me. So it's not like Elise thinks that she's a superhero and I can save the world. But if I'm tapped in and I'm like, God, tell me what you want me to do. A lot of times I'm doing stuff I never did before, and I'm like, wait, I can't believe I just did that. But it wasn't me. It was the power within me. Because when I get scared, when I'm afraid, I'm like, God, I'm afraid. Please help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not ashamed to admit I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. I can humble myself. Why? Because life has humbled me. If you'd talked to me 20 years ago, I'd be like, girl, it's all me. No, I'm fly. I'm fabulous.
But you have to go through some stuff.
And which is why, again, I think that's why everything that has happened to me had to happen, because now I can testify to say, if it had not been for God in my life, I wouldn't be standing here today helping people say they want to commit suicide, get over depression, right? Because when I was in my state, there was no one else I could turn to because I kept hearing, you did this wrong, you did that. As a mother, you should be doing it. If you haven't raised children during COVID and you raised children during the Great Depression, don't tell me how to raise my children. There's sex everywhere. And when we talked about the songs, they're singing it because they don't know what they're singing.
The plot twist to all of this, too, is I believe in God personally, but I always like to tell people who don't believe in God that God is the power within.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you're not talking to anyone, right? You're talking to yourself. You're talking to your inner strength, that power to carry you through all of these difficult moments.
So let's talk about this from another perspective. God being your imagination. Right? Let's talk about God being your imagination. If you're depressed, if you're stressed, if you're worried, if you're anxious, if you're in fear, you cannot think a clear thought. This is the reason why we're supposed to be afraid of COVID, monkeypox, terrorists, this, that.
Confusion.
Right, because if we're always like, which is seriously how they want us to be. I stopped watching the news when Homeboy got elected. We ain't going to say nobody's name, right? But that was the sign, all propaganda, leave it alone. if you're constantly like that, you can't think a clear thought.
Cannot think, and you can't hear.
Yeah, this is why I left the city. And no offense, I love the city. Don't
I
ever
know.
get it twisted.
I
But
know.
I'm a writer. I'm a thinker. I need peace and sometimes the birds is too much. And when you have all of that going on right here, so imagine if the three of us are sitting here, but in my mind it's kill yourself. They don't like you. They're making fun of you. You
Not
guys,
right here, at
right?
least.
But listen to what I'm saying. I'm serious. You guys don't know that I'm thinking that,
Of course not.
right? But all of this is normal. There's no threat right here. The threat is right
It's inside
here.
your mind. And the one thing I remember my mom used to tell me is God is not the author of confusion. Satan is. Satan likes to lie. He's the author of lies, father of lies, and confusion. So that,
Wow.
what you just described, the way the world is right now, this is Satan's territory. Whatever God you believe in, you are an alien here. You're a foreigner here. And so that's why it's aggravating to us and disturbing because we're not of that.
No,
So you're like, where am I? I don't like it here. This is bad. And more and more people,
It's
Emmanuel,
foreign to us.
you're starting to discern
So-
who's with you and when.
So let me say this. So because this is something I'm learning more and more. I know that I'm a soldier spiritually.
Yeah.
I believe that, and that's another reason why I'm attacked on the level that I'm on.
Absolutely.
I learned this from Bishop George Bloomer. He said, whenever you're going into a new territory, decree authority over the territory. So before I got here, I was like, this is my land. I'm taking over. I don't care. So even if I'm afraid in my human, like, oh my gosh, what's going on, right? It's something inside of me that's like, stand up straight. Get your shoulders back.
That's right.
Right? Because I'm tall. So when I go places, I can't be like, oh my God. Right? I have to like, I'm confident. Right?
have to.
But it's not my own confidence. And that's the thing. When I was younger, I thought it was all about me. I'm pretty. I'm this. I'm that. I'm that. Now I'm like, oh, I'm humble. I'm grateful. I'm
Humility. Yeah.
I had to be crushed and broken to get here.
That humility is key. And it'll take you so far. Again, guys, we have tons of conversations before we start the show, but we were talking about this demon of pride, and they spoke about humility in that video.
Yes. Yes.
And you won't have any fear if you can somehow do that. But back to the symptoms, we said.
I'm sorry.
Isolation. We can talk all day about that. Isolation. What else? Eating habits change.
Eating and sleeping.
And sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people will tell you in so many ways that they are suicidal. When they start saying, oh, life is trash, I don't care. Or they become reckless. They become
Decisions.
the decision, not making the best decisions, giving away all their possessions, their money. Those can be signs, too, of someone who has given up. And, of course, the D word, depression, which doesn't have to have anything to do with anything around you. Depression can just be a chemical imbalance, a low
Triggers.
serotonin.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
fucking triggers.
It can be.
Triggers.
And it's treatable. There are things that you can do. Some people subscribe to medication. I love exercise. I've never suffered from depression that I know of, but I have had instances where I felt down. I didn't feel like myself.
Yeah.
Exercise helps me.
Yes. Yes.
Exercise
Same.
immediately gets that blood flowing. and
You're
gets me
supposed
back.
to get up and do stuff.
Yes.
Like, you gotta get up, wash dishes.
Yes.
Do laundry,
Yes.
mop.
Do something.
Responsibilities. Yeah.
That's what you gotta get up and do.
Do something. And you spoke about living alone. They said that most people that are adults that are depressed or that are suicidal live alone. So they said it's not good.
Those are the friends you have to check on. Hey, how you doing? It could just be a text message because what I'm learning is sometimes people just need to know someone cares. And I think my daughter was sharing a story with me about a man who jumped off the bridge or something, and he said right before he did it, like he lived, and right before he did it, he said he just wanted somebody to smile at him, and nobody smiled at him. Like I know, like I get called out for this, like, oh, you're being flirtatious, or you're like, I know when I'm flirting and I'm not, right? But sometimes I feel like it's just like, good morning. So something like this small, right? You don't have to be mean to everybody. Like, you don't know how just little one thing could change someone's day.
It said, don't let us not get confused between depression and sadness. Okay?
There's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Because when people think depression, they think, oh, you're just sad. What are you sad about?
No.
No,
No.
I'm not sad. I'm just in a slump. And I can't tell you why.
I can't tell you why.
I don't even know what caused it.
I don't know. And it looks different. Depression
Yes.
sometimes shows up
Yes.
as anger,
Yes.
angry all the time, arguing all the time.
Yes.
Depression can come off as somebody who doesn't say anything at all. It can be someone who always likes to debate. They're always in a constant state of I disagree with everything that I hear and I hate everything. I hate every confrontation.
Contrarians.
So just off to piggyback off what you just said, I don't remember if I've told this story before, but I'm going to give you the short version. I think he said I got about 5. Less than 5 minutes. So when I was in the 8th grade, okay, we had a classmate that we had been with basically since kindergarten, because it was K through 8 in Detroit. I'm not going to say his name. I respect his family. But this student was just kind of like a fixture. He was one of those sweet little Dungeons and Dragons kids. He didn't bother anybody. We didn't dislike him. He was just annoying. Because he would just ask crazy stuff. If you could eat a peanut butter and pickle sandwich or a peanut butter and mayonnaise,
Oh
which
my
would you
God.
choose? And we're like, sir. Like,
Roger, go home.
Go home, Roger, right? Kind of like Steve Urkelish, but he was a sweet kid. And attractive. He's handsome. So this particular day, we were in our computer class, and it was gifted and talented school, so we were like trying to get our work done. Like, we didn't have time to talk and answer any questions. He went around with his little notebook. If I died, would you be sad? And we were like, no, like, die already. We don't care. Go away. Serious?
Hard.
Would you miss me if I died? And we were like, no, like, you're annoying. Go away. No. Mean as hell, 8th graders. We did not think this kid was serious. That was Friday. He blew his brains out on Saturday.
Oh my God.
Monday we come home or come to school and they're pulling us out one by one, the counselor. We didn't know what had happened. So we're like, what is going on? Because the kids weren't coming back,
Traumatic.
right? They weren't coming back once the counselor pulled them out. So we're like, what did we do on Friday? Are we in trouble? Like, why are they pulling us out? He left a note because no one cares anyway. There were other things too. His sister had went off to college. That was like his bestie. His mom had recently remarried. He did not like his stepfather. So there were other things going on, but he also felt unloved and unwanted, and that baby killed himself. And so we have to live with that for the rest of our lives, because I don't think this way now, but I did for a long time. Like, what if I had said, like what you just said? Of course we would miss you. We love you. We don't want to see anything
We
happen
think
to
you're
you.
annoying, but we love you.
So let's talk about morality in this, where at that age, again, because that's what I was studying this semester, at adolescence, is the fact that your conscience is not really fully developed yet. So you don't know not to say something mean or to be away because you think it's a joke. Understand that everyone does not reach the highest level of consciousness. Some people stay stuck in a very immature state mentally in terms of their decisions, and you can tell.
Especially victims of trauma.
Right. So understand, like, it's not always, oh, this is a mental illness. Maybe something happened and it stopped that part of their brain from thinking and making decisions, which is debilitated it. So here's what I'm saying. There's a intervention group in the sub-Saharan parts of Africa, and they do what's known as, in Swahili, it's called Thrive, and I believe it's called like Shamara. I'm probably mispronouncing it, right? Okay. And the study was done in 2020, study show. And what
My favorite line.
Right. What they found is that they did an intervention program of mental health, but they didn't call it mental health.
Okay.
And instead of having like psychologists or, people with authority or education to come in, they had high school seniors do a mentoring group for middle schoolers. Yep. And the focus was morals, gratitude, and mind growth set.
That's so funny.
Right? Nothing about depression, anxiety was mentioned in terms of how they were doing it, but it came up in the conversation. So I felt like and this is something that we were working on last year, and God knows how this is going to happen. I wanted to do a program in New York City, a psychosocial program, intervention, but we never talk about, oh, this is mental, or this is, hey, how are you feeling? What's going on this week? And we just get them to talk and engage and let them know someone cares.
That's so funny. See, she just outlined everything that I'm doing. I'm working on it in California. I can't say too much because we still copyright stuff. But I did get my first school in Nigeria. We got 2 minutes, he says. They've approved it. And it's exactly what you said. So, conversation with
Yes.
people that they feel comfortable with, that look like them, they will spill their guts out to you.
Yeah, they have to trust you.
And it is highly centered around gratitude. The girls are responsible for every day before we start, they do their gratitude journals, and they have to be specific about what they're thankful for, because that helps with depression also. And that's something that we can all do.
Yeah.
When you find yourself waking up like, oh my God, I hate this job, I hate these people, I hate everybody, I want to kill myself. Immediately, like you used to do, switch it. What are you thankful for? You know what? I am thankful that I am not in a wheelchair and that I can get up out this bed and walk.
I'm alive.
That I'm alive, that I have my real hair, that I'm not working at Wendy's making $10 an hour like some people have to get up to take. And it shifts you. Because you're like, sir, why are you so ungrateful? What are you doing? And that's what we're working on. And then there's the fitness component, which is another one. Exercise, gratitude, mentorship.
Yes.
And it also helps the mentors. The high school students benefit also.
Yes.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Yes.
Because they're looking at these kids and they feel accomplished. Like, wow, I helped somebody. I did something.
At that young age.
Yes.
At that young age. So I think that's another thing too. We were joking about the book. We talk about journaling, right? Because everybody's like, oh, you wrote a new book. It's a journal, right? I'm saying everything I know about being a mom. What do I know about being a mom?
There you
Nothing, right? So what happens is you have to get to a place where you know, like, as a mother, okay, I need help. What are the resources that are available to me? What is it that I can do every single day? Because guess what? Every day you're not going to feel good.
You're not.
Every day is not going to be a good day. You have to just accept that. And it might not even be the whole day. It might be something that happened in that day, and you just keep rehearsing that same thing. So it turns out that everything is bad, but it's not. And when you talked about the difference between being sad and depressed, the difference is sad is an emotion. We're allowed to be sad.
Absolutely.
We're allowed to be angry. We're allowed to be worried. But for how long?
For how long?
Those are all natural. So I don't ever want anyone to run from their emotions. Like, there was a time where I couldn't cry, I couldn't feel vulnerable, because to me it was a sign of weakness. That's the way I grew up. If you show vulnerability, you were weak. Now I want to be vulnerable every single day.
I want to be the damsel in distress.
Yeah, I need help. I don't know. I'm not afraid to admit that I don't know, right? So going back to what we said, there has to be a system that you have where you can write down, and this is exactly what I was doing. Every day I was like, okay, my son is getting on my nerves, my daughter, the job, this. But guess what? In being honest with myself, when I go back and look at that, I laugh, because guess what? This is what I learned. If you have a problem, right, you're either going to say, hey, what if I had this problem for the rest of my life? How would I deal with this? What attitude, if I know that I can't get away from being a mother or being a teacher or being this, how can I shift my perspective, because I'm going to have to deal with this?
I'm going to have to deal with it.
Once I did that, it changed everything. I started to see things. Like, we started to communicate more effectively. Like I said, my children will call me out. I don't like when you did this, Mommy. And the relationship is different.
The dynamic will
Right,
change.
the dynamic has changed, because I got down from being the expert, the professor, the this, and I got down to being a human being.
And the last thing I'm going to say, because Charles, how many minutes do we got left? Like 30 seconds? Literally. Stop blaming your parents for what they did do or did not do, or how you were beaten. Their only job, according to the Creator, was to get you on earth. They've done their job. Like, we hope that you would have parents that nurtured and cared and fed you and clothed you. But if they didn't, guess what? Get over it. They've done their job because you're here.
Tough titty.
So, tough titty said titty, right? That's what my math teacher used to tell me in 8th grade.
You got to be your own
You
parent.
have to be your own parent.
Be the parent that you wanted your parents to be to you.
Stop letting stop letting your past be your pass for being an asshole. Stop it. The past is what it is. Yeah! Thank you. All right, if you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide, or you think that they may be, or you may be, the 1-800 number is 1-800-273-8255. But if you just Google suicide, they'll give you tons of resources that are local, that are free, numbers you can call that are completely anonymous, unless you don't want it to be talk to someone.
Yes.
Get a therapist. Call your insurance company. Your child's school has tons of resources. Your job does. Get help and speak to someone. Suicide is not the way, you guys. There are so many other alternatives to that. And I think that's all we have to say on that. Unless Emmanuel want to take us out with.
This is a lot.
It's a lot to process, you
It's
guys.
a lot. Like,
But it's worth it.
ooh, thank you, Elise.
Thank you for giving us your time.
We have
When she's got that doctor, and then she's gonna tell us some other stuff.
Wow, really? Study show. My study show.
My
My study show.
According to Dr. Elise McNally.
Right.
Thank you so much, guys. But
Thank you.
please enjoy the rest of summer. What we got, like, is it tomorrow?
2 days, 24
2
hours.
days left
I
of
don't
summer.
know.
I think it's the 22nd. I don't remember. But thank you so much for joining us in the comment section, and we will catch you guys next week.
God bless my haters. God bless fake hoes. God bless these haters. Cause God only knows that.